Welcome to the Death Meter, where we judge the survival skills, or spectacular lack thereof, of your favorite characters. Here's the deal: a score of 1 means this character actually used their brain and made the best possible choices in their situation, but a 10, that's for the kind of choices that make you wonder if they're actually trying to die. Spoiler, you won't see a 1 or a 10 often, because the true brilliance and peak stupidity are rare creatures. No one in this movie quite earns those honors, though a few came dangerously close. Let's see who played it smart and who, well, didn't. First up, we have the coroner. I already covered him in the first movie, but let's revisit his performance briefly. Honestly, the guy didn't do anything horribly wrong. He was just doing his job, unlucky enough to be in the wrong place at the exact wrong time. That said, being the poor soul who got caught up in Art's resurrection earns him a solidly average 5 out of 10. Not great, not terrible, just tragically unlucky. Next up, we've got the laundromat guy. Not much screen time for him, but let's be real, what we did see wasn't exactly inspiring. The guy dies in the exact same spot where we first find him after seeing this, which makes it painfully clear that he didn't even try to run or escape. Zero survival instincts. For that, he earns a well deserved 8 out of 10. As for anyone in this dream sequence, yeah, I'm not wasting my time. It's a dream sequence, none of it counts, so they're all off the hook this time. Next up, we got the costume shop owner. His fatal flaw, completely failing to realize how much danger he was actually in. Sure, maybe he thought it was just some weirdo acting out because it's Halloween. Understandable at first, but once Art started pulling all of this stuff out, his reaction should have gone from mildly annoyed to full blown survival mode. Instead, he stuck with irritation, and that cost him. For his lack of situational awareness, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 on the death meter. Next up is Allie. She first bumps into Art at the costume shop, and honestly, that should have been a red flag. Later, Sienna fills her in about the encounter she had with Art, but Allie doesn't seem to take it too seriously. Then Art shows up at her house trick or treating. Okay, let's pause for a second. If you see a guy dressed like this and you're pretty sure he followed you home, alarm bells should be ringing. I'm still not sure how he knew where she lived. At first, I thought maybe he followed her home while she was buying candy. But no, Art was still in the shop holding the owner's severed head when Allie was out and about. So who knows? Regardless, when Art shows up at her door, that should have been an immediate threat. But nope, she just laughs it off. Classic mistake. Then comes the glass breaking while she's upstairs. And of course, when she goes to check it out, what does she find? Art standing in her kitchen like he's just making himself at home. By this point, there's not much that she could do. She's already pretty much screwed. Sure, grabbing something that she could have used as a weapon would have been a decent choice, but realistically, her only hope would have been to barricade the door before even going downstairs, call the cops, and pray they get there before Art does. So, what could Allie have done differently to avoid becoming roadkill? The sad truth is, not much. At this point, she's pretty much screwed. She has two options: run or fight. Fighting, that's not going to work out well for her. She's unarmed and she's definitely not winning it against Art. Running, yeah, she could try, but where's she going to go? Upstairs? Well, we saw how that worked out. The side door, has got broken glass all over the floor and she's barefoot. So trying to run through that without cutting her feet up is pretty unlikely. In the movie, she was actually trying to run out of the front door, but Art cut her off and forced her upstairs. Even if she had made it to the front door, Art would have caught her the moment she tried to stop and open the most likely locked door. So no matter how you slice it, Allie's fate was sealed the moment she didn't take Art seriously. The only chance she had was recognizing the threat earlier. Once Art was inside the house, she was pretty much done for. So, for not being able to recognize a threat when it is staring her in the face, she gets a 7 out of 10 on the death meter. Next up, we got Sienna and Jonathan's mother. Honestly, she didn't stand much of a chance. Her first encounter with Art was also her last. One look, and Art immediately turned her face inside out.
Things are gonna change.
If we're being real here, she got off relatively easy. I mean, sure, getting a sawed off double barrel to the face is pretty brutal, but at least it's a quick and painless death. Most of our victims don't get that luxury. Just ask Allie. As for her decisions in this movie, I wouldn't call her dumb. Not believing that Sienna's dream caused her wings to catch on fire, I mean, that's reasonable enough. Candles under flammable wings sounds like a recipe for disaster. Smacking Jonathan, I mean, come on, who didn't want to smack that kid while we were watching this movie? Then there's this mess in the garage. Yeah, it makes sense for her to assume that Jonathan did it. Since her death was pretty much out of her control, I'm going to go down the middle with her and just give her a 5 out of 10 on the death meter. No major mistakes, just really, really bad luck, mostly for having Jonathan as a son. Next up, we've got Jeff. This poor guy didn't get much of a chance either. His first encounter with Art was Art popping out of nowhere and turning him into a eunuch. Now, we don't actually see Jeff die, but Art does take a moment to show Brooke her boyfriend's mutilated goods, and then he decides to chase after her instead of finishing the job. So we're left guessing if Jeff bleeds out or survives his injuries. Either way, he's not winning any survival awards. Now let's talk about Jeff's genius decisions. Driving while impaired, check. Snorting coke and thinking he's still in the condition to drive, big mistake. That's straight up stupidity, and for that, he gets an 8 out of 10 on the death meter. A solid contender for Worst Decisions of the Day award. Next up, we've got Brooke.
Hi, excuse me, can you mind your own business, please? Thank you.
Her first major brain fart is deciding to not only take Molly herself, but also spike Sienna's drink with it.
In front of everybody.
I put Molly in your drink.
You fucking bitch. What?
Yeah, that's a brilliant plan. After watching her boyfriend get turned into a Ken doll, she runs straight into the carnival. I mean, sure, why not head into the creepy abandoned funhouse when a psycho is chasing you? I would have taken my chances running down the street, but that's just me.
Brooke, in typical horror movie fashion, decides to scream like she's auditioning for a slasher film while tripping over everything in sight. Instead of running the second she hits the ground, she takes the time to remove her boots. Why? Who knows? Maybe she thought it would help her run faster. She could have hidden in the carnival, but instead she decides to fight Art in a bathroom. Yeah, that's a solid strategy. She could have kept running. We see Sienna come in from the other entrance a bit later, but nope, she thought that going toe to toe with Art was a better option. The fight was never going to go her way, even if he didn't throw acid in her face. So for all of these stunning decisions, I'm giving her a 9 out of 10 on the death meter. A near perfect score for poor choices and absolutely no survival instincts. Next up, Jonathan. His first encounter with Art happens in the school hallway, where he sees Art and his friend playing with a dead possum. Yeah, that's normal. As he is running away, Jonathan just bolts right into a teacher. And what does he do? Does he stop to explain what happened? Nope, he just keeps running like a genius. Naturally, the teacher finds the possum and immediately assumes that it's Jonathan's handiwork. Honestly, part of this is on her too. She should have checked the security cameras, and Jonathan should have tried to explain what he just saw. They could have checked the security cameras, spotted Art, and alerted the police, but instead, Jonathan just runs. Then there's the moment where he decides to approach this creepy ass van that honks at him. Great choice, Jonathan. I'm sure that van was just a friendly neighborhood vehicle. By this point, you'd think he would have learned better, but nope. This kid really has no business surviving this movie. Later at dinner, he meets Art and his mom. What does he do? Just stands there staring at Art like he's in some kind of trance. Run, you idiot. The only reason he didn't get his face arranged right then and there was because Art was waiting for the perfect moment to kill him in front of Sienna. How sweet. Then there's the whole sister sacrifices herself for him part, and of course, Jonathan still gets caught. But don't worry, he's still totally useless in the fight against Art. Seriously, Sienna would have had a much better chance of taking Art down if Jonathan hadn't been there getting in the way. But hey, at least he manages to steal Mr. Mom's gun and shoot Art. Small victories, right? Too bad it doesn't do much to change the outcome, and Sienna still has to come and save him. After Art finishes off Sienna one last time, he heads over to Jonathan, who's knocked out cold. Art could have easily killed him here, but nope. He wants Jonathan awake so he can enjoy a little more torture. Because hey, what's the point of killing someone in their sleep? Honestly, I was so close to giving Jonathan a 10 out of 10 on the death meter, but I guess because he did one useful thing, shooting Art, I'll settle for a 9 out of 10. Finally, we've got Sienna, the final girl of the film. Right away, you can tell her survival instincts are on the weak side. I mean, she's spray painting with all these candles under her wings, and let's not forget that spray paint is highly flammable. Maybe all the brain cells she lost from inhaling toxic fumes in a poorly ventilated room are why she makes so many dumb decisions throughout this movie. Her first real encounter with Art is at the costume shop. She just sort of slowly slides past him. Pretty fortunate that he didn't attack her here. She was trapped and there wasn't much else that she could do. There is no other exit that I could see, but even if there is one, it would most likely be locked, otherwise it would be way too easy for people to steal shit. She's just lucky that he doesn't want to kill her yet, or does that make her unlucky? Later, while she's in the car on her way home, she gets a call from the little clown girl posing as Jonathan.
I'm at the old carnival. Eric and Sean left me here.
She lures her to this abandoned carnival. I'm not going to give her too much shit for this. How could she have known that this little girl would be able to mimic her brother's voice? Here's Art just savoring Sienna's reaction to finding her friend. He really does love to share his work. Maybe get up and run? Jonathan shows up in time to watch his sister get the shit beat out of her. Not sure why he didn't kill her right here. I guess he really wanted to make her brother watch. Too bad her phone got smashed, so now she can't call for help. Of course, she could have called 911 the second she found Brooke. I would have just hauled ass out of there and let Jonathan fend for himself. If he hides until the police get there, great. If not, well, that's his problem. As Art is laughing at Jonathan, Sienna is able to come up behind him and hit him with his club that he left in the bathroom earlier. She actually lands a good shot to the back of his head, but instead of making a pile of strawberry jam on the floor, she leaves the weapon and runs away. Always double tap. I don't care how much pain I'm in, I'm not stopping until the guys with guns show up. Here, she leaves her brother alone while she goes forward to look around. There is no need for this, just keep going together to look. Splitting up is stupid, although if her plan would have been to leave Jonathan as a distraction for her to escape, I could have respected that. Art shows up again and starts whipping him with his chain. While he's beating Jonathan, Sienna crawls over top of him to shield him with her body. As noble as this is, it's pretty dumb. Attacking him, or if you're heartless, use this distraction to run away would have been far more effective. She catches the whip, takes it away from Art, and gives him a taste of his own medicine. I'm gonna have to call bullshit on this one. Catching it like this is really gonna mess up your hand, and I really doubt that she would have been stronger than Art to be able to just rip this away from him like this. What actually would have happened is he would have just continued to beat her to death and then do the same to her brother. After giving Art a thorough lashing, she rips up a piece of rebar and stabs it through his head, and they live happily ever after. Psych, he's not dead. Now you get strangled. She would have been killed here too if her brother didn't manage to get his gun and shoot him with it. After Ghost Clown Girl shows Sienna what Art did to her mother, she hears Jonathan scream in the distance. She goes to find Art standing over Jonathan, and after an extremely successful attack, Art chokes her out and throws her down this hole. After Art threw her into the hole, he comes down here and stabs her in the gut. Then it cuts to Sienna trapped in some kind of water tank, and then it shows the people from her dream earlier in the movie singing and laughing as she struggles. Yeah, I don't know, it's a weird movie. As Sienna starts to drown, Jonathan finally wakes up to Art munching on his hand. Then the Master Sword from Zelda awakens, healing Sienna's wounds. She frees herself, grabs the sword, and stabs Art in the back, and then slits his throat. As she stands before him, ready to cut his head off, Art happily receives his reward. I think it's obvious, but if a spawn of Satan ran you through with a sword, mystical powers from your father's sword is not going to save you. You would just be dead. Part of me hopes that this didn't actually happen, and Sienna is just lying there dying, and this is her brain's way of coping with what's going on. Just when they think it's over, the creepy clown girl shows up. After a short conversation with Art's head, she takes it and leaves. There is no fucking way I would have let her leave with that thing. This is definitely going to come back to haunt her, probably in the next movie. Now, Sienna made a lot of mistakes, but hey, she does manage to survive. Sort of. So I will give her a solid 8 out of 10 on the death meter. And that's a wrap on this masterclass in bad decisions, horror movie logic, and the unkillable will of Art the Clown. So which character do you think deserved a higher or lower spot on the death meter? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button if you survived this video, and subscribe if you want more content like this. And of course, if your dad likes your slutty Halloween costume,
Dad would have loved it.
be thankful he is dead. Until next time, try not to end up on the death meter.